What is going on, guys? Today we are going to be talking about the top 10 best Genshin Impact characters. That being said, before we dive in, please understand that Hu Tao has not been released yet, so Hu Tao will not be in this video, but everybody else is fair game. Also, to sum up a little bit, there's not going to be a lot of 5 stars in this video. I've limited myself to 4 or 5. That way, the free-to-play players can still see other characters that are very good, that aren't super hard to obtain, right? So I've limited myself to only a couple, but that doesn't mean characters like Mona or Albedo aren't better than my characters at like 10, 9, and 8. It just means that I've chosen so many other good 5 stars that these are the ones that stood out to me the most. That being said, let's start off with our number 10, and that's Kaya. Kaya was one of those characters that when he first released, he was pretty garbage, right? However, as things have started to change, we've got new artifacts. He's actually a pretty good DPS unit, but an even better support DPS. I've seen people being in that DPS phase of hitting like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 Ks, and I've seen, like for me personally, I prefer the sub being able to put on this constant melt proc and dealing, helping my Dilute deal so much damage, right? However, if you notice the numbers in that video, like there's not a lot of high amounts of damage because I don't have him fully built. But that being said, he's still an amazing unit. We're going on to number 9 now, and that's Fischl. Fischl is one of these characters that I find to be very good, not just because of the high amounts of damage she can do, but because she is great off the field as well. For characters like Razor or Zhao who need a hyper carry, she's perfect. She does a lot of damage and is able to keep doing that consistent damage and almost have Oz up on the field the entire time. And even for characters like Diluc, who need that elemental proc, she's going to keep consistently putting that down for him to proc overload, right? So she's exceptional. And then going into our number 8, we have Chongyun. Chongyun is one of these characters that is able to put down this nice field and do this amazing sub DPS role, but is also able to do okay in the DPS role. I've seen people hit, just like Kaya, a good bit of damage for a fairly poorly built Chongyun. However, he does fall off pretty fast in the later game, but it doesn't change the fact that he is a great sub DPS all the same. Being able to proc these melts, helping your team deal those high amounts of damage, while also just staying off the field. Perfect for both hyper carries and people who need that extra damage. He's super accessible right now due to the Lantern Rite Festival being active, and I definitely recommend him being a good pickup for your team if you feel like you need him. That being said, going on to our number 7, Xingqiu. Xingqiu is one of those characters that when this game first came out, he was kind of like tossed aside in the garbage and was really never looked at very much. He's a character that wasn't doing a lot of damage, and we couldn't figure out a good build for him, at least from what I could tell at the time. However, as new artifacts have come out and as people have slowly begun looking at like what he can do, he is very good character for, again, that sub DPS role of helping out hyper carries who just need maybe a little bit extra damage boost like Razor, or even Zhao, but also great for characters like Lu, Ganyu, or even Zhongli, who are able or who need like these elemental reactions to keep dealing this high amounts of damage. Xingqiu is definitely one that you shouldn't pass over if you have the chance of obtaining him. But still, that being said, there are characters that are better than him, which leads me to our number 6, which is Zhongli and Diona. Zhongli and Diona, I lump them together because they both almost do the same thing, in the sense of Zhongli gives a lot more DPS but protects, and Diona gives a lot more heals but also shields you as well. both have their weaknesses. Diona being that her heals aren't, or her heals are pretty good, but her shield doesn't last for very long, and it's fairly weak. Whereas Zhongli's lasts for so freaking long, and he's a great sub DPS. I just don't get the point of putting him as on the DPS role. Not that he can't, especially with the new update. I just found that there was a lot of other characters that could hit a little bit harder than him. Both are great characters though nonetheless, but this leads me into my number 5 spot, which is Venti / Sucrose, right? So again, I lump these two together because they definitely do the same thing, where they pull people together, they keep them together, and they deal a crap ton of elemental damage if you put in a certain element. They're both good at crowd control and supporting that main DPS unit that you have on the field, while also dealing somewhat okay damage, and even people like Venti, they're able to help out with that exploration side of the game as well, which is extremely nice. Venti and Sucrose are pretty much a must-have if you're trying to get through Spiral Abyss. At least one or the other. You don't have to have both. But if you don't have Venti, you weren't able to get Venti, Sucrose is a fine option for you free-to-play players that weren't able to get him. She is obviously not as good, but there's still a lot to pull out of Sucrose that a lot of people haven't done yet. And now, that being said, this leads me to my number 4, which is Diluc. Diluc is one of those characters that is going to deal just crazy amounts of damage all the freaking time, but you need to have characters that can help boost that, like Kaya, like Chongyun, like Ganyu, and like Bennett. All these characters are great, and they really push Diluc to the point of this peak damage character that he truly is. Diluc, in my opinion, is one of those characters that just really needs a good team synergy. At times, I went from recently doing 36,000 damage on an ult using Kaya, where I was before like only doing 6,000-7,000. I didn't understand why, and it wasn't because I wasn't hitting these procs correctly. I wasn't building Diluc correctly, and that is something that's fairly important for him. He doesn't normally fall off. He stays really good between early and late game, and he is just a heavy hitter. And if you have him, I would truly recommend building him. But again, with the characters that are also in the next 3 on this list are characters that I still find that are a little bit better than Diluc. 2 of them specifically are DPS characters that I find just to be slightly better than him. However, he is still an amazing character. Do not get me wrong. That being said, my number 3 is Bennett. The only reason I put, first off, I think Bennett is the best 4-star, probably one of the best, if not the best character in the game. But he's here just because the next 2 are a little bias related. But Bennett is amazing. Bennett gives you these crazy heals. He gives you this crazy attack power that you need for some of these characters, while staying off the field, and he gets it back fairly quickly. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh no, it's his energy recharge is trash." No, I haven't had that problem. I've been able to just put him out on the field, get my 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 health that I need, and just keep going to town. And with that extra attack buff, it is amazing. Also, I love his character design, but that's a whole other story for a whole other day. My last 2 characters, these are characters that are amazing and truly need to be optimized on your team. And these 2 are Ganyu as my number 2, and completely biased, but I still think he is probably the more underrated character in this game right now is Zhao. The reason why for number 2 for Ganyu, you're not going to see any clips of her up here because I don't actually have her, but she is an amazing sub DPS while also being able to deal a crazy amount of damage, being a perfectly fine DPS as well. A lot of people have dubbed her the best and like the new pinnacle for this game, and I can't help but to agree as well. She doesn't need much help from other people, but with help she's even crazier. My friend who has I helped build his Ganyu for him isn't hitting for very hard, but his crit is only like 100%, and he's still hitting for like 15,000 damage with a stringless bow. Like Ganyu is a quite literally a perfect character. However, my number one, Zhao, is a completely biased pick, but I think that people are definitely underestimating him. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, he doesn't give you a lot of single target damage, and I beg to differ. In this clip you can see now, I'm killing a Cryo Registine in, what, 10 seconds? And this is for a fairly poorly built, just randomly playing Zhao. I mean, I'm only doing 25,000. I've seen people hit for 60, 70,000 a hit. And I disagree with some of the statements that have been made. Zhao was a character for me that I was looking forward to as soon as I got the game. And so getting him now, I don't feel like he's as bad as what people are saying that he is. I think he's up there in the top 2 DPS units in both single target damage as well as that AoE damage. I think he's a underrated character and definitely meant to be in people's teams. You just have to build him correctly. That being said, I've heard a lot of stuff about even his energy recharge. And I, again, personally haven't had this problem. If you build a character like Venti or Sucrose, you can always have his ultimate either almost fully charged or fully charged. And so I do recommend summoning on this Zhao banner that's out right now. But that's all I have to say, guys. I thank you so much for watching this video. If you don't mind putting a like and a subscribe down would be amazing. I really appreciate y'all, and y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.